But what happens is that if you don't talk about the money thing, is you're going to spend a bunch of time putting together a quote, and you'll go and do a site visit, and you'll find that you are literally on two different planets in terms of what the client was expecting things were going to cost versus the number that is actually on the quote.
Welcome to the Master Dealmaker's Secrets podcast. And now, here's sales growth strategist, John Blake.
Welcome to Master Dealmaker's Secrets. I'm John Blake. This is episode 264, and today we are going to cover how to ask a client for your budget, how to get past the fear of asking the money question. So we're going to spend some time on this. A big part of the front end of qualifying a client is to get a sense of how much they're wanting to invest in a project. So many people in sales avoid asking this at the front end of a sales conversation, normally at the qualification stage. They're often intimidated as they are worried that it will break rapport, or they are going to sound judgmental, that they are judging someone that perhaps isn't willing to spend the amount of money that all of their other clients spend. But this is wrong, right? This is simply a way to align expectations early so that you don't waste each other's time. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But it isn't judgmental. You are simply working out whether you can help them or whether they would be better served with you potentially suggesting another option that would be a better fit for their particular set of circumstances. So there are ways to get around this, which I'll share in a moment. But what happens is that if you don't talk about the money thing, is you're going to spend a bunch of time putting together a quote, and you'll go and do a site visit, and you'll find that you are literally on two different planets in terms of what the client was expecting things were going to cost versus the number that is actually on the quote. And the problem is that often people just don't know how much things cost. Like it might have been years, decades in between when they last had a similar type of work done, or they might never have actually bought your particular product or service before. So they just have no idea. A lot of people do. A lot of people have done research, but a lot of people still have got no idea as to how much things actually cost. So depending on the complexity of the quote that you're preparing, and if there's a site visit involved, this can take up a stack of time. Like in some businesses, it can be up to 40 or 50 hours or even more, to put together some sort of a quote or a fee outline. And that's not to mention the extra time that you end up spending following up on a lead that said that they might get back to you, gave you some sort of vague indication as to whether they're interested or not. But in actual fact, they actually end up doing nothing. So what's better is to find out beforehand, before you waste a bunch of time on a quote that was never going to buy in the first place. So here are three simple ways to do this. The first one is to use a softener. Now, softeners they're a really good way to put a simple phrase before a question that would otherwise be clangy or perhaps confronting. Certain questions can be confronting to ask, but they can also be confronting to answer for your potential client. So you could use a softener like, so look, working on the no surprises policy, can you give me a range as to what you were expecting to invest in this particular project, right? So what have I done there? I've said working on the no surprises policy, right? Because everyone has had the experience where someone went and put a quote together and they had no idea what it was going to cost. And the first time that they saw or had any discussion about budget or what it was that they were going to invest is when they actually saw the number on the back page of the quote that had been put together, and they nearly had a heart attack. So everyone's had that experience. So a really great softener is, so look, working on the no surprises policy, can you give me a rough understanding as to what you were looking to invest to make this happen? Look, I'm not going to hold you to it, but can you just give me a ballpark understanding, again, working on the no surprises policy so I can put something together that is within your particular expectation, right? So there's a couple of different ways that you can ask that question. So this provides a sensible reason as a pre-frame as to why they should share this information with you. And it, as I've said before, it's always better to know upfront before you invest a bunch of time and effort in putting together an outline for someone who is not properly qualified yet. The next way is that you could share your average project value. So what that would sound like is, so look, to give you some sort of an understanding, an average project value that we would work with would be in the vicinity of 40 or 50K. Is that in your ballpark? And obviously that will change depending on what you want to have done, how big the space is. But that would be, again, a way that you could start to breach or broach rather the project value, which will give you some sort of an understanding, but most importantly, ballpark the person as to what it is that you are about to talk to them about in terms of money. And so, of course, if they say, "Oh no, that'd be way more than what we'd be prepared to spend," well, what can you do? You can point them in a direction where they're more likely to be able to engage somebody to work on a project that is more in line with their budget expectations. So the average project value is a good one, or you can break it down by per square meter or per room. And so that's also a really good way that you can start to broach the budget questions. One of the clients that I work with does window treatments, and one of the ways that we were able to introduce price early was to be able to go into the first room and go, okay, so if you're looking at putting this type window treatment in this room, you're looking at between 2 or 3K. And so then we walk in, and then at the end of that, once we finish in that room, say, is that in your ballpark? Yes, great. So then we go into the second room, and again, because we've introduced price early, we can start to talk about the cost as we go, and we can address concerns, and we can start to prioritize rooms and all of those things. So again, mission accomplished, because we've managed to enter the conversation about budget. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can do this. What I'm sharing with you are the easiest ways, the most non-confronting, non-confrontational, conversational ways that you can start to introduce price into the conversation, so that you're not T-boning someone with a number that they weren't expecting at the quote stage after you've invested a whole bunch of time in putting that together. So look, if you would like help uncovering exactly where you currently have missed opportunities, just like ballparking, so that the people that you're actually putting quotes together for are people that are most likely to buy. If you'd like some help uncovering exactly where you currently have missed opportunities, like the one that we've just been talking about today, where you can add 20 to 50% in extra sales conversions to your transactions that you're working on in your business, go to www.jblakerx, where you can book a sales diagnostic that will be customized for your specific business, for your industry, and what you sell. So look, as always, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you listening in and continuing to listen. I hope you got some value from today, and I will look forward to talking to you on the next podcast. Cheers.
You've been listening to Master Dealmaker Secrets with John Blake. Subscribe to get more in-depth strategies and maximize your sales process with new episodes every other week. And double your inquiry to sale conversion with the lead flow you already have. Go to johnblakeaudio.com for his exclusive, free, no fluff audio training and companion PDF guide.